I'm excited. It's going to be strange the first day that the position players are here and Derek's not here. And he's not in his hitting group, and he's not taking his ground balls and grabbing one of the young shortstops and playing the air game. And, you know, he's a little bit more lenient with his throws than the competitor, but that's just who he is, and I think he's earned that right. But I'm anxious to see how our team shapes. And one of the things that can really happen with a team when you go through something that we're going to go through in the next 5 or 6 days is you can really come together. And you can really learn from each other, and you can really stick together. And from a player standpoint, we'll get our work in, and we'll get through this. I mean, this will be something that a lot of our guys have been through, but our guys will just go about their business, and they'll go play. I think it's a bigger story outside of our clubhouse than it is inside of our clubhouse.
Hope.
Joe, what are your thoughts about CeCe coming off surgery, and do you believe you can count on him for a full 30, 32 starts?
I feel pretty good about it. Just watching him do his work here and what he's been going through, and obviously, you know, I'm an optimistic guy by nature. But we feel that we have good doctors that have handled his situation and have put him in a good place to pitch 30 to 32 starts this year. Now, can I guarantee it? No, I can't guarantee it, but I feel pretty good about it.
Chad? Yeah.
Joe, when you're talking about all the competition in camp, are you talking about guys trying to make the roster, or are you trying to figure out guys who are on the roster and just how much you're going to use them or what role you're going to use them?
I think it's more the second, how we're going to use certain guys, how our rotation is going to shape out, how the bullpen's going to shape out. You know, we expect Didi to be our shortstop, but how other people fit with him and how he's doing. And, you know, the one thing we've continued to harp about, Didi, just be yourself. You know, just be yourself. But, I mean, there's a lot of questions on how it's actually going to mold together. Because you do have some guys that can do a couple different things. You know, you look at a guy like Chase Whitley, who started and was a bullpen. You look at a guy like Adam Warren, who's been a starter his career and has been a very effective bullpen guy. Those guys can do a little bit of both, so you got to see where they fit in.
Harp, to your right, Joe.
Joe, you mentioned all the young players that are here. Do you feel like expectations have been lowered at all around here, and do you need to downplay expectations with some of the younger guys to bring them along?
Well, I don't think the expectations in the clubhouse have changed. I think there's people that make predictions about how many wins people are going to have as a club. There's odds that have placed on it, and who's going to win the World Series and who's the favorite. But as inside that clubhouse, the expectations are to be the best we can be and to win a World Series. That's what we come to camp for. That's why you work all off season. If that's not what you're working for, then you don't belong here. You probably don't belong in the game in a sense, because if you're not playing it to win and to be the best that you can be, you're really missing the boat. So we have our expectations in the clubhouse, and I think expectations by players and coaches and managers are always higher than maybe what the outside is.
Kenny.
Joe, how recently have you spoken to Alex, and when do you expect him in camp?
The last time I had contact with Alex was probably 5 or 6 days ago. And as far as the camp, just normal time. I have not heard he's going to be here earlier, and I wouldn't necessarily expect it. Spring training's long enough, and you can get your work other places and do what you need to do. So as far as being early, I have not heard anything.
Tyler, to your left.
Joe, MLB announced some pace of play initiatives today, including the manager and how the mechanism for challenging replay calls. How do you think that'll be different this year, and do you think it'll be effective?
I know that the pace of game is something that baseball has been addressing for years, and I know it's really important to the commissioner and to the owners, and I think we have to respect that and try to do the best we can, and hopefully it is effective. I think people just don't want as much downtime in between innings and in between changes, and that's what they're really striving for. So we're going to get a sample of it in spring training and how it works. and we will try to incorporate it in practices and see how it goes. Hopefully it works, and we don't have to talk about pace of game anymore, and that it's just it works. And as far as replays, I thought they did a really good job last year, and I'm looking forward to the process this year and the subtle changes that they'll make.
Marley.
Joe, do you believe, with all the ifs, that this is a solid rotation?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question, because you could say that about, people could argue that the best rotation in baseball. You could say, if this guy gets hurt and that guy gets hurt, is it a solid rotation? You'd probably say no. So there are ifs. I mean, there are ifs on how guys perform and how they physically feel. And if they perform the way they're capable and they're physically healthy all year, then I think we have a pretty good rotation. But if those two things don't happen, then you have to go to guys you didn't expect to be in the rotation, and you have to see how it goes.
Andrew.
Joe, in Alex's career, he's continually gone back to steroids. If we go on the presumption he's not going to do that this time, how much just psychologically, mentally, do you think that will impact him playing without, performance-enhancing drugs?
Andrew, I can't tell. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be on him, so I wouldn't know what it's like to be off him. So it's hard for me to judge, and it's hard for me to try to play God and see what it's like to be Alex Rodriguez. I can't do that. Hopefully, though, he's in a good place when he gets to camp. He gets the initial week behind him, and it gets more back to business for him, and he can just go about his work.
Dan.
Joe, Derek was so obviously acknowledged as the leader of this team for so long. He's obviously not here now. Where do you see that leadership coming from now, and how do you see that developing?
Well, I think within a clubhouse, you can have one person who is considered the leader, but I think there are fractions of that where other guys might lead this group. Derek wasn't sitting in the bullpen. That was David Robertson's job. And I think you'll have guys step up in different areas. Will we have, per se, I'm not saying that we're going to name a captain, but will we have one go-to guy? I don't think so. I think it'll come from all over. I think there's enough veteran presence and leadership qualities in there that guys will just handle it.
Joe, what did you make of Tanaka's last start in Boston?
I didn't make too much of it. I thought we didn't make some plays behind him, number one, that probably led to some longer innings. It wasn't his best start, but I didn't make too much of it. And I don't think you can ever make too much of one start. I think you want to say a lot about it just because of the situation that he was in, but maybe that played nothing with it. Maybe he just didn't have good stuff that day. Now, if that was a trend, then I would be concerned. But I don't think we've had any starts this year or enough starts this year to know exactly what we're going to get.
Were you concerned about it at the time? Do you remember asking him if he was okay?
I did ask him, did you feel okay? And he said yes, which reassured me that, okay, he just had a dud.
Jack, if you could pass that back over, Dave. Or pass it directly to. Thank you.
Joe, when you look ahead to a season, I know that you worry about what your own team is doing and your own expectations, but is there any part of you that looks at the AL East as you're evaluating 2015 and says, wait a second, when I look at this team, this team, this team, and this team, you can go toe-to-toe with those teams?
Oh, I think you obviously pay attention to what other teams are doing. And the one thing that you realize over a 162-game schedule is there's a lot of things that have to go right for you to be the winner at the end. Sometimes it's contributions from unexpected players that you had no idea maybe were even going to be on your roster or that were going to be traded for or released and you pick them up. Sometimes it's just everything goes pretty much according to plan. I haven't been on too many of those teams. I was on one that for like 28 weeks went according to plan, but the first week didn't go so well. Yeah, I think you look to see how you measure up, but the only way you really know how you measure up is to do it on the field.
Sticking with that theme, we'll take one final Twitter question from Grant Grollich. Joe, in your mind, what are some of the biggest things fans have to look forward to this season?
I'm excited about the potential of our rotation and the youth in our rotation, which is not something that we've had over the years that I've necessarily been here. I'm excited to see how our bullpen shakes out. I'm excited to see how our pieces fit in our lineup and how we have switch hitters, we have left-handed power, we have right-handed hitters. I'm excited to see how it all fits, because really every spring training you go into, you go in and it's a puzzle you have to put together. Sometimes it's a 50-piece puzzle and the pieces are really big and you give it to an 8-year-old and they knock it out in a minute. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And I think that's what I look forward to the most, is seeing how it all fits.
Sweeney, you have the mic? Yeah.
Joe, you've been with the Yankees a long time. You've never really been an underdog. Do you feel like you're one this year?
Well, I mean, if you read a lot of clippings and what people are saying, I mean, they don't have us on top of our division. How do I feel? I like the group of players that we've assembled. I do. And I'm anxious to get to work and to get better as a club and to be prepared on opening day. But I like the people that we've put in our clubhouse.
Bruce, here's the mic, right? Yep.
Joe Teixeira will be 35. Beltran will be 38. CeCe's 34, and A-Rod will be 40.
We're numbers, younger than we were last year.
do those numbers scare you?
Well, I think you worry about aging players. I think you have to, and I think you have to be more cognizant of their playing time and strategic on their days off where they physically, their bodies are able to recuperate and be more productive. But as far as being a club, we're younger this year than we were last year. But there's still some players that we have to watch.